Hello, it's Marni Penner from Happiness for Mothers. I'm at the Keleti train station in Budapest. This is where I lived actually when I got pregnant with my first daughter before we moved back to Canada, in those condo buildings right there. So, so what is it like to be a highly sensitive empath? Well, so there's a certain personality type of people who feel something all the time. I often describe it as a roller coaster of emotion. I'm always feeling something. Now, if we're always feeling something, it can either be a great strength or a great weakness. As a strength, it means that we have a really strong intuition about things. We have a strong gut feeling about things. We also can feel what other people are feeling and kind of feel what they're thinking. It is just kind of these empathic abilities, right? On the other side, it can be a great weakness. At least it's treated like a weakness. It isn't supposed to be a weakness, but it can be treated like one. In that when our environment doesn't work for us, for example, in the beginning of motherhood, we're often submitted to a very, very difficult environment. We often have a very difficult life where our physical and our psychological and our social needs aren't met, right? So when we are subjected to a very difficult environment, this roller coaster of emotion can become so painful. So the intensity of all these different emotions that we're feeling multiplies by like 100, right? And we can't identify exactly what we're feeling all the time because it's tons of emotions all thrown into one, right? And what happens a lot of the time is when highly sensitive empaths become mothers, these emotions that they're feeling, and they're all new emotions like guilt, shame, fear, powerlessness, loneliness, all these overwhelm, all these emotions we're feeling are so painful that we often resort to one of the secondary symptoms of motherhood. So for example, we either turn these feelings off, we numb them completely, which puts us into depression, or we internalize them and it turns into anxiety, or we externalize them, which is anger. And so we can't keep feeling all these emotions, so they turn into a secondary symptom. And then what happens, which is really, really sad and which is really upsetting to me, is that we are pathologized. We're told there's something wrong with you because you're feeling these secondary symptoms of depression, anxiety, or anger, or panic, or OCD, intrusive thoughts, or addictions. So if we're feeling these secondary symptoms or manifesting these secondary symptoms, then there must be something wrong with us. So we are pathologized a lot of the time in motherhood. And I have to tell you that every single one of my clients so far has been a highly sensitive empath. So we have a societal problem here. When we have highly sensitive women who have these great potential strengths are being pathologized, diagnosed as having something wrong with them, given medications, and just treated in such a way that they're disempowered, right? So they were feeling bad enough as it was, and then to label them as having a disorder, it's disempowering them further. Sometimes we get some relief, like, okay, it's not me, it's the disorder, but in general, it has this disempowering effect, right? And so what I'd like to tell all the highly sensitive empath mothers out there is that there's nothing wrong with you. It's just your personality type. We just don't talk about the fact that, there's 1/8 of us has this personality type, right? As being a highly sensitive empath. That's an approximation, but we don't talk about this. And so it's too often pathologized. And so how do we get out of these painful roller coaster of emotions? Well, the truth of the matter is that highly sensitive empaths always have at least a bit of a roller coaster of emotions. We're feeling all the time. And that's our normal, okay? That's our normal. But how do we make it so it's not so painful? Well, we talk about what we're feeling. We try to talk about it. It's really hard to put it into words when we're feeling, 15 emotions all boiled into one in this roller coaster ride. But we have to try. We start and we try. And we put names to these emotions. And when it comes to the emotions of motherhood, I've done 6 years of research, and so I can help you with these emotions if you'd like. But the main thing is to start talking about them, start identifying them, and seeing and recognizing that these emotions are simply an indication that your environment is not working for you. There's nothing wrong with you. You just need a very particular environment, and motherhood has not been giving you that. All right? So the first thing to do is identify what you're feeling and say, well, what could I do in my environment? Either my physical environment, my social environment, or my psychological environment, my philosophical environment, like have a perspective shift, right? What can I do in my environment to make my life work better for me, right? Because I tell you that highly sensitive empaths have two settings. We either really suffer or we either really thrive. Because these abilities to be able to be feeling all the time and feeling what other people are feeling is a strength, because wisdom, what is wisdom? Wisdom is intelligence about people and about life. And when we're feeling all the time, you can bet that we're gaining wisdom about people and about life. Highly sensitive empaths also tend to be very creative people too, and innovative people, because they have a gut feeling that there's something going on and they pursue it, right? So just I wanted to give you hope that by recovering from the suffering stage of being a highly sensitive empath, and by moving into the thriving, that you will really thrive. Because being a highly sensitive empath is a strength. And I wanted to let you know that you are normal and you are perfect just the way you are. I hope you have a wonderful day, and thank you for listening.